Okay, picture this. It's a Tuesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Back home, you'd probably be scraping ice off your windshield or maybe, squeezing onto a crowded subway car, just dreading the commute.
I know that feeling.
But in this version of reality, you are sitting on a balcony, there's a warm tropical breeze blowing through, you have a cold drink in your hand, maybe a fresh coconut or a really good iced coffee.
Sounds like the absolute dream, doesn't it?
It is. And you look out, and instead of a gray, rainy street, you see palm trees and this vibrant, modern city skyline.
That's the classic geo-arbitrage fantasy. Earn in dollars or pounds, spend in ringgit.
Exactly. It is the dream. And for a long time, Malaysia has been selling that exact dream with a program called Malaysia My Second Home, or MM2H for short.
Right.
They've got the glossy brochures, the promise of long-term residency, the smiling couples walking on the beach at sunset. But, and regular listeners know there is always a but, on this show, we are here to look past the glossy photos today.
Right, because moving your entire life across the globe is never just about the view from the balcony.
Not at all.
It involves serious bureaucracy, significant financial hurdles that have recently changed, and a daily reality that doesn't always match the sales pitch.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the MM2H illusion versus reality. We are pulling from a stack of sources that break down the new tiered system, which is a beast in itself, the hidden costs like the tropical tax, and honestly just the day-to-day grit of living in Southeast Asia.
And our mission.
Our mission is to figure out if this second home program is actually a viable home or if it's just a really expensive vacation visa wrapped in red tape.
And I think the key theme here, looking at the research, is that tension between the ease of the idea—
I'll just move to Malaysia.
Exactly. And the complexity of the execution. It's become a much more intricate financial commitment than it used to be. It requires a lot more strategy than just packing a suitcase.
Let's unpack this, starting with what MM2H actually is. Because I think a lot of people confuse it with buying citizenship.
Oh, for sure.
Or, getting a golden passport like you see in some Caribbean nations or parts of Europe.
That is the most common misconception we see in the data. The source material is very clear on this. MM2H is a long-term residency visa.
Just residency.
Typically, it's valid for 5 or 10 years, and it is renewable. But, and this is critical, it is not a path to citizenship.
So no matter how long I stay, I don't get a Malaysian passport.
No. You could live there for 20 years, pay your bills, be a model resident, learn the language, and you are still technically a guest.
A guest.
And it doesn't really legitimize your existing passport in the way some people hope. Some folks look for these residency programs to make themselves look like global citizens for banking or travel.
Right.
While having a residency visa adds a layer to your profile, the sources emphasize this is primarily a permit to live in Malaysia. It's not a golden ticket to global mobility.
Got it. It's a permission slip to stay, not a new identity. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. The program used to be pretty one-size-fits-all.
It was.
But recently, the government completely overhauled it into a tiered system. We're talking silver, gold, and platinum.
It sounds like an airline loyalty program.
It really does.
They've effectively gamified the entry requirements. Or rather, they've segmented the market to attract a specific kind of capital.
Right.
It's no longer just, can you support yourself? It's, how much capital are you willing to park in our banking system to prove your commitment?
Okay, so break down these tiers for us. If I want to apply today, what's the difference between being a silver resident and a platinum one?
It largely comes down to the financial commitment, specifically the fixed deposit.
Okay.
Regardless of the tier, you have to put a significant chunk of money into a Malaysian bank account and just leave it there.
Dead money.
Essentially, yes. It earns interest, which is actually decent in Malaysia compared to some Western banks.
Yeah.
But you can't touch the principal for the most part.
Okay.
For silver, the entry level, the deposit is substantial, often around the 150,000 USD mark equivalent, though it's pegged to ringgit. Gold requires a significantly higher lock-in, often upwards of 1 million ringgit or more. And platinum, that is for the ultra-wealthy who can afford to park millions.
And what do you get for that extra cash? Does the platinum visa come with a chauffeur?
I wish. The perk scale mainly with the duration of the visa and how easy it is to renew.
I see.
Silver might get you 5 years renewable, platinum might get you longer terms, and potentially permission to work or invest in specific ways that lower tiers can't. But the key takeaway from the new system is that the financial bar has been raised drastically compared to the old MM2H days. It's a signal that they want quality over quantity.
In terms of net worth.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the segment I like to call Show Me the Money. Because it's not just about having cash in the bank to freeze, is it?
Not at all.
There are rules about where your daily spending money comes from.
This is the part that trips a lot of applicants up. The sources highlight the offshore income rule. To qualify, you must prove you have a consistent monthly income, pensions, dividends, rental income coming from outside Malaysia.
So if I'm 40, I can't just move there and get a job at a coffee shop or start freelancing for local Malaysian clients to pay the rent.
Generally, absolutely not. That's the work myth.
The work myth.
MM2H is strictly not a work visa. It is not a digital nomad visa designed for you to enter the local labor market.
So you're basically forbidden from working for a Malaysian company.
Pretty much. The government wants you to bring foreign currency in and spend it, not take jobs out of the local economy.
That is a huge distinction. If you're thinking, I'll move to KL and figure out a way to make money locally, this is not the visa for you.
Precisely. You need to show liquid assets and, depending on your income source, you might even need to show audited financial statements.
Wow.
The bureaucracy wants solid, paper trail proof that you are financially self-sufficient without their help.
It sounds like they are looking specifically for retirees or the independently wealthy.
That's a very accurate assessment.
Not the hustlers or the digital nomads just starting out.
They want spenders, not earners.
Okay, but let's play devil's advocate. What if I am wealthy, like crazy rich Asians, wealthy, but I want to do business? Or what if I want to stay forever but don't want to deal with the renewals?
Right.
What are the alternatives? The sources mention something called PVIP.
Yes, the Premium Visa Program, or PVIP. Think of this as the golden visa for those with deeper pockets who might still want to be active.
Okay.
The requirements are steep. The source mentions needing around 40,000 ringgits a month in offshore income.
Which is what, in US dollars?
That's roughly 8 to 9,000 US dollars a month in passive income, plus a deposit of roughly 1 million ringgit.
Wow. Okay, so that's serious cash. That's not your average pensioner.
It is. But the benefit is that it allows for a 20-year residency, and crucially, it gives more freedom to work or start a business compared to MM2H.
Oh, okay.
If MM2H is for the retiree, PVIP is for the tycoon or the active investor who wants to use Malaysia as a base of operations for Asia.
And what about the Holy Grail? Permanent residency, PR. Can I just stay on MM2H for a few years, keep my nose clean, and then apply for PR?
The unicorn. The sources are very blunt about this.
Mm-hmm.
Debunk the idea of easily getting PR.
Really?
In some countries, residency leads to citizenship after 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
In Malaysia, permanent residency is extremely difficult to obtain.
Who gets it then?
It's reserved for massive investors, highly skilled professionals the country desperately needs, or people with Malaysian spouses.
So for the average expat retiree, PR is just off the table.
It is not a realistic goal.
Yeah.
You should plan your life assuming you will always be on a renewable visa.
You're a long-term guest.
Exactly. You don't get to vote. You don't get the total security of citizenship.
That's a reality check for sure. You have to
Yeah.
be comfortable with a certain level of impermanence.
You do.
So let's say we have the money, we accept the guest status, and we move. What is life actually like? Because the brochure shows me sipping coconut water on a beach, but my wallet might tell a different story. Let's talk about the cost of living. Is it really that cheap?
This is where the sources are really helpful, because they break down the budget into 3 realistic tiers: modest, balanced, and upscale.
Okay.
And this grounds the fantasy in reality. It stops us from just guessing.
Hit me with the numbers. What does a modest life look like?
A modest lifestyle is estimated between 1,300 and 1,800 US dollars a month for a couple.
For a couple.
Yes. Now let's be clear about what that buys you. For that price, you aren't living in the city center of Kuala Lumpur in a penthouse.
No view of the Petronas Towers.
No. You're likely in outer KL or a smaller, sleepier city like Ipoh, which is famous for its food but very quiet.
And lifestyle-wise, what does that look like?
You're cooking at home, mostly. When you eat out, you're eating at local hawker stalls, which, to be fair, serve some of the best food in the world for $2 a plate.
Oh, the food is amazing.
And you're using public transport.
Yeah.
You probably don't own a car.
That's still incredibly cheap compared to the US or UK. $1,300 a month total. That's barely rent for a studio apartment in most Western cities.
It is. But if you want the lifestyle most expats imagine, the condo with the infinity pool, the gym, eating out at nice cafes a few times a week,
Right, the brochure lifestyle.
maybe owning a modest car for weekend trips, That's the balanced tier. That runs about 1,800 to 2,600 a month.
That sounds more like the sweet spot for a lot of our listeners.
It is. That budget gets you into a nice suburb like Pubaling Jaya or a good spot in Penang near the beach. You have air conditioning, you have space, and you aren't counting every penny at the grocery store.
And for the high rollers, the upscale life.
$2,600 to $4,000 plus. That's central KL, right near the Twin Towers, or a luxury seafront property in Penang.
Okay.
You have domestic help, which is common and affordable there. You're likely dining at international restaurants, and you're traveling regionally to Thailand or Vietnam on the weekends.
So even the upscale version is arguably cheaper than a middle-class existence in New York, London, or Sydney.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Your purchasing power is massively amplified.
But money isn't the only factor in daily life, right? We have to talk about cultural integration.
Yes. Malaysia is a melting pot. Malay, Chinese, Indian cultures all mixing together. It's vibrant, but it's complex.
And the source makes a specific point about the role of religion.
Yes. It's a Muslim-majority country. That plays a role in public life. You'll hear the call to prayer 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol is available, but it's heavily taxed and expensive compared to the food. There are separate halal and non-halal sections in supermarkets.
So it's not like moving to Spain or Costa Rica.
No. The advice from the source is about openness. If you go there trying to impose Western norms or expecting it to be just like home but cheaper, you're going to struggle.
It's about respecting the local rhythm.
You're joining their society. They aren't catering exclusively to yours.
And speaking of rhythm, let's talk about the environment. Because tropical sounds great on a postcard, but physically living in it is different.
That is the tropical reality.
Yeah.
It is not crisp autumn days. It is hot, humid, and rainy year-round. We are talking 90 degrees Fahrenheit with 80% humidity.
Wow.
You step out of the shower and you're sweating again 5 minutes later.
And infrastructure-wise, I've heard the traffic in KL is legendary.
Legendary is a polite way to put it. The rush hour is intense.
Yeah.
If you live in KL, you plan your life around the traffic jams.
So do people drive?
Many do,
Mm-hmm.
but the sources highlight that ride-sharing, specifically Grab the Uber of Southeast Asia, is a massive part of the ecosystem.
Ah.
It's often the preferred solution to avoid the headache of parking and navigating that traffic. It's cheap, reliable, and air-conditioned.
Now, you mentioned the heat, and that segues perfectly into something I found fascinating in the notes, the hidden costs of paradise.
Yes.
Because cheap rent is great, but what are we forgetting?
The tropical tax. It's a great term. The first thing is electricity. You see that low rent, but you forget that to survive that heat, your air conditioning is running constantly. If you want a 68-degree apartment, your electric bill is going to be hundreds of dollars a month.
Right, you can't just open a window if it's 90 degrees and pouring rain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the humidity itself. It destroys things. The source explicitly mentions mold, rust, and water damage happening much faster than you'd expect.
There was that specific detail about the shoes?
Yes. Leather shoes in the back of a closet. If you don't wear them or keep them in a climate-controlled room, they will turn green with mold in a few weeks.
That is wild. I never thought about my shoes molding.
And electronics fail faster. You are paying for dehumidifiers, replacements, repairs. It's a constant battle against the moisture.
Wow. And what about in condos?
You get sinking funds. These are fees for major building repairs, waterproofing, painting. In a tropical climate, buildings degrade faster. You might get hit with a special assessment fee that isn't in your monthly budget.
And imported goods.
Oh, yeah. If you insist on your specific brand of cheddar cheese or American coffee, you will pay a massive premium.
Oh.
Local goods are cheap. Imported comforts are luxury items.
So putting this all together, the bureaucracy, the dead money in the bank, the humidity, it sounds like you shouldn't just sell your house and buy a one-way ticket on a whim.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That is the fastest way to become a failed expat. Someone who moves, hates it, and moves back 6 months later, having lost a fortune.
So what's the smarter way?
The expert advice in our source material suggests a very specific strategy, a 3-stage transition.
Walk us through this. This seems like the most practical advice for our listeners. Stage 1.
Stage 1 is research. This isn't a weekend Google search. Take 3 to 12 months. Look at finances. Look at the visa rules, because as we saw, they change.
Right.
And look at neighborhoods. Don't just look at Malaysia. Look at Mongkiar versus Bangsar in KL or Georgetown versus Batu Ferringhi in Penang. They are totally different vibes.
Okay, research is done. I know the rules. Stage 2.
This is the most critical recommendation.
Yeah.
The trial stay. Do not buy property yet. Do not sign a long-term lease.
We go for a while first.
Go for 1 to 3 months and live like a local, not a tourist.
And this is actually where one of the key insights from our notes comes in regarding accommodation. You don't want to be in a hotel, right?
Exactly. A hotel implies room service, a concierge, fresh towels. That is a vacation.
Not real life.
Real life involves doing laundry and figuring out how to pay the electric bill. The recommendation here is to use serviced apartments. They bridge the gap.
Right, because if you sign a 12-month lease and hate the neighborhood, you're stuck. But a hotel doesn't feel like home.
Correct. You need a space with a kitchen, a living area, maybe a workspace. And interestingly, in our deep dive into the resources for this stage, we looked at moveandstay.com. They seem to be the go-to for exactly this problem.
Yeah, I saw that in the notes. They've been around for over 25 years, specifically focusing on Asia Pacific.
And that longevity matters in this market. Move and Stay specializes in these extended stay solution service departments, even serviced offices if you're running a business remotely.
So they're not really for the 3-day backpacker.
No, they cater to professionals and people doing exactly this kind of trial stay transition.
So you use a platform like Move and Stay to find a place for, say, 2 months in Kuala Lumpur.
Exactly. You get the housekeeping and security, so it's safe and easy, but you have a real apartment. You can test the commute, go to a local grocery store, see if the internet is fast enough, and see if the lifestyle actually fits you. It takes the pressure off.
I love that. It's like dating the country before you marry it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
You need to know if the humidity makes you miserable before you ship your furniture over. Only after that trial stay, if you still love it despite the traffic and the moldy shoes, do you move to stage 3, commitment.
That's when you sign the lease or buy the car.
Yes.
It's a smart way to de-risk the move. Now, before we wrap up, we have to touch on 2 things that are boring but essential: healthcare and bureaucracy. If I get sick, am I covered?
Healthcare in Malaysia is actually a tale of 2 systems. The public system is incredibly cheap, almost free for locals, but it's crowded and wait times can be long.
And the other system?
The private system is what most expats use. It's excellent, internationally accredited, and fast, but it is not free.
So insurance isn't optional?
It is an absolute necessity. In fact, it's usually a requirement for the visa approval. But here is the catch the sources warned about. Premiums increase with age.
Oh.
If you are retiring there in your 60s, the premiums are manageable. But you need to budget for those premiums skyrocketing in your 70s and 80s.
That's a long-term financial trap if you aren't careful.
It can be.
And finally, the bureaucracy. We touched on this with the tiers, but what's the general vibe dealing with the government?
The phrase that kept coming up was the illusion of stability. Rules can change overnight. The tier system we discussed. That was a relatively recent shift that caught a lot of people off guard.
And processing times.
They can drag on for months with no explanation.
So if you're the type A personality who needs everything on a schedule,
You're going to struggle. You need patience.
Yeah.
If you're the type of person who needs instant answers and predictable timelines, Malaysian immigration bureaucracy might drive you up the wall.
you have to learn to go with the flow.
Or rubber time, as they sometimes call it in the region.
So to summarize what we've unpacked today, MM2H is a viable option. It offers a luxury lifestyle at a discount, a base in a fascinating part of Asia.
And arguably the best food in the world.
And the best food,
But it requires significant capital more than before. It requires patience with shifting regulations. And it requires a willingness to adapt to the climate and culture. It is not a simple plug-and-play retirement.
you have to work at it.
You do.
And that brings us to our final thought for the deep dive. We've talked about the tiers, the money, the moldy shoes. But there is a bigger question here about the nature of home.
That's what stood out to me most. The source emphasizes that this program is about residency, not citizenship.
Right.
And as we saw with the introduction of the new tiers, the government can change the terms of engagement whenever they want.
Right, you are playing in their sandbox.
So the provocative thought is this. If the rules can change overnight, is a second home ever truly as secure as a first one? When you are a guest, no matter how gold or platinum your status is, the host ultimately sets the rules. Listeners need to ask themselves if they are comfortable making a lifelong investment, financial and emotional, in a system where they have no vote and where the policy can shift with the political winds.
That is something to chew on. Is it a home or is it just a really nice, really long-term rental?
Yeah.
A huge thank you to everyone for listening to this deep dive into the reality of MM2H.
It's been a pleasure exploring a tropical reality with you.
We'll catch you on the next one. Stay curious.